Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our program tonight. And we are back in session. Good evening, and welcome to another Mom's Night In with Faith-Filled Moms. I am your host, Miss Tanya Mae Avent, or Mrs. I should say. And we have Miss Janice Rowe and Miss Markeisha Green joining us as well. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Welcome. It's Tuesday. We had a beautiful day here up in the Northeast. It was beautiful. And so welcome. If you are joining us, please just say hello in the chat. Let us know where you are, where you're joining from, and how your weather was today, if you had great weather like we did. I am still on cloud nine about last week. Last week's show was just, there's no words. Our guests were truly amazing, gave us a lot to think about, a lot that we can be working on and just addressing. So tonight we're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it moving. But I am excited because tonight we're doing something a bit different. We're having a roundtable discussion. So we are just going to talk about some women's health issues together and just ask our specialists some questions and just really have a good evening together. So I'm excited. I hope you are as well. So if you're watching, please go ahead and share this on Facebook or even YouTube or send it to someone. If you know anyone that's just needs some time, maybe just away from the bothers and the cares of the day, just needs an hour, maybe a little over an hour today with some women, some positive women, to just talk about how we can best care for ourselves and take care of ourselves. This is the spot. So make sure you share and invite and bring your friends along as well. It's going to be a great night. I'm so excited about our guests and our topics. So Markeisha, I am going to send you backstage to do what you do. But actually, before we do that, we want to lift up Shira, our guest coordinator, in prayer. Shira is in the hospital with her daughter. Her daughter's actually in the hospital, and she's there. Her daughter was admitted last night. And so we're just going to, we'll open up in prayer for our show tonight and just set up a special prayer for Larissa and for Shira and their family, as we just believe God for her healing. So let's open in prayer, and then we'll get started. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you again for this day. We thank you for the privilege and honor to be able to come before our guests tonight and be able to just share what you've put on our hearts to share. And we just pray that they would leave encouraged, whether they're watching live tonight or watching a rebroadcast in the future. We just pray that you would just bless this conversation, this discussion, Lord. Allow us just to be enlightened, to be educated, and to leave out of here with some knowledge to empower us, to help us live healthy lives and help us live long lives. For you, Lord, we lift up Larissa and Shira right now. We lift up every single doctor that's caring for Larissa, that they would find out what's going on with her. And just, we pray that you would just touch her body and bring her healing. And we just pray for peace and comfort to Shira as she's caring for Larissa and Lewis and Layla as well. We just lift them up before you. We pray that you would be with all of our technology tonight, that everything would work exactly as it should, that nothing would be lost, God. And we bless you and thank you in advance. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Markeisha, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And if you can work your magic, I'd really appreciate it.
I'm going to do that. That's what I do. I'm going to do what I do.
Take care. So again, we want to welcome you. We have two wonderful guests with us tonight. So I'm going to bring them in. We have Dr. Patricia Jones with us and Miss Krystal Taylor as well. Hi, ladies. Good evening.
Hi.
We're so happy to have you for our first ever Women's Roundtable discussion about health. So welcome to us. We want to just say, first of all, I think I see some guests up here. So hi, Carmen. I did see your name come up. Good evening to you. Good evening, Benita. Welcome. And good evening, Verna. Thank you all for joining. So again, we are excited to have our guests on with us tonight. We are going to talk about some topics. So if you're watching, please, and you have questions, please go ahead, enter them in the chat. We will be answering and taking questions live tonight. But for our topic is Women's Health Roundtable discussion. So I want to read the guest bios and have them give their own greetings to you. And then we'll get started with our topics. So my first guest I want to introduce is Dr. Patricia Hughes Jones. She is a board certified obstetrician gynecologist, currently in private practice in West Philadelphia. A native of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Dr. Jones relocated to Philadelphia in 1980 after completing her studies at Lincoln University, HBCU, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree, graduating magna cum laude in 1981. Subsequently, she attended Hahnemann University School of Medicine, where she graduated in 1984 with a Doctorate of Medicine degree, graduating with honors in human anatomy. She also has a Master of Divinity degree from Trinity Bible College and Seminary with a concentration in pastoral ministry in 2011. And in August 2016, she became a doctoral candidate for a PhD in biblical counseling. So lots of, I think, biblical information and natural health information as well. So Dr. Jones, please just give greetings to our guest tonight. Welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you tonight. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I hope everybody came with their questions. I hope the Lord gives me an answer. And I think that we'll have fun just chatting.
Yes, I agree. And thank you. And thank you again for being here. And then Krystal Taylor, my soror, Krystal, which I am so happy to have you join us. So Krystal, I'm gonna read your bio first and then I'll do a personal introduction. So Krystal is the owner of Fitness is Not a Game, and not is in capital letters, as you can see, a dynamic health and fitness coach, author, and speaker on a mission to empower women to break free from fad diets and achieve sustainable health and fitness. With over a decade of experience, she's helped hundreds of people transform their lives with personalized meal plans and workouts that fit busy schedules. Krystal believes in the importance of developing healthy habits that last a lifetime and is a firm believer that anyone can reach their health and fitness goals by adopting a balanced lifestyle and not following fad diets. She's an avocado lover and beer enthusiast who's passionate about helping others achieve their goal. Miss Taylor, welcome, soror Taylor.
Hey.
So Krystal and I, yes, we met in a mother's chat 18 years ago now.
Almost 20.
18.
The boys
I
will be
think you were in the chat.
year.
Yeah, because you were in the chat before me.
Next month.
Yes, so my daughter is 18. So I probably, 19 because I was pregnant when I had her. And we didn't meet till about 5 years ago in person, I want to say. I came to Chicago for business.
A long time ago.
Well, I'm coming to Chicago this summer, so we have to get together. I'm excited. Yes, we have to get together again. But I remember when you started your business, and I've sat on a couple of your webinars, and you're just amazing. And I'm trying, girl. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there as well. But please give greetings to our audience as well.
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Hey to all the ladies that are here with us tonight. As Tanya said, I am a health and fitness coach, and my goal is to really, and I know my bio says helped hundreds of people. There was people, but now I only focus on women, and especially Black women, because it is my mission to help at least 1 million Black women help their families change their medical history, the trajectory of it, because we are not predisposed to any of these preventable diseases. You know, we have markers, but we still have choices at the same time. So I'm excited to be here, especially to be on here with Doc. I'm excited to have some good conversation because I bring one side of it, and it's always good. I love to learn the medical side of it as well. So I'm excited.
Yes. And we're excited to have you. So thank you and welcome. So let's get right into it. We have a number of topics. And again, if you have a question related to women's health that may be not even related to what we're talking about, but you have a question for either of these guests, please feel free to put it in the chat. We will take your questions there as well. But the first thing we wanted to talk about was pregnancy. So if there are women that are planning to become pregnant, we want to first of all talk about the care even before you become pregnant. So maybe from the medical point of view first, how do we prepare our body? What's the best way to prepare our body for pregnancy? So Dr. Jones, that's for you first.
Well, a couple of things. First, yes, be prepared. If you're going to get pregnant, go into it well aware of what's going to happen with your body. Be an educated person about what pregnancy is going to mean. Know your history, your medical history. Know your family's medical history. Because that's going to have a bearing on your pregnancy and your child. And you don't want to go on with just a bunch of surprises. And then, especially as Black women, it's been all in the news. It's been all in the statistics. We have a higher rate of maternal and fetal calamities associated with pregnancy. So, go in it with an educated mind. Go in kind of getting information. What's expected, what should happen, what should not happen. And be your best advocate, your own best advocate. If
Mhm.
something is wrong, if something doesn't feel wrong, bring it up to your doctor. Don't sit and wait and, well, I'll wait and see. That's like the worst um, viewpoint, that I'll wait and see. And a lot of times things happen because people say, well, I'll wait and see how I feel tomorrow. I'll wait
Mm-hmm.
and wait.
Mhm.
And, the waiting is too late. But, if I say anything, know your history, know your family history. If you're on medication, see your doctor. One thing is try to be healthy going into pregnancy.
Yeah.
You tell women, once you're pregnant, now it's not a time to have this whole health upheaval. That's something you need to go into. Get on a good diet, get a regular exercise program, because you can exercise while you're pregnant. You should
Mhm.
exercise while
Mhm.
you're pregnant. It's not the time to be a slug on the couch. Um, but start your vitamins. If you have a long family history of certain illnesses, you may want to go in and get genetic testing or counseling before you're pregnant. If you have a host of medical issues, you might want to go for consultation before you get pregnant to see what impact that's going to have
Mm-hmm.
on your pregnancy. But yes, go into pregnancy being educated. I think the time is
Mhm.
out for just oopses. I wake up and I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
We all, as women, we all know how we get pregnant. So that's not a secret. So, if you're gonna engage in that lifestyle, then do it right.
Yeah.
If you're a smoker,
Responsibly.
quit
Mm-hmm.
smoking. And that sounds, easier said than done, right? But then
Mhm.
go through the steps so that by the time you're pregnant, you can be healthy. If,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
drink alcohol and you know you're having sex and you know you're not using protection and you could become pregnant, think about, maybe I ought to not drink alcohol or something like that. So, it's if you're a marijuana smoker, God forbid, but if you're a marijuana smoker, even think about, okay, if I get pregnant tonight, what impact is going to have on
Mm.
my baby?
Mm-hmm.
And go into being pregnant with those things in mind.
Right. Right. So thank you for that. I did see Karen's message. So Markeisha, if you could put that back up. She said, align yourself with a qualified doula so that can support you and your birthing tribe. If you need one, contact me. Yes, Dr. Jones, be proactive instead of reactive. Yes.
Mhm.
And she touched upon exercising. So I'm going to jump over to Krystal. Talk about some healthy eating in terms of prenatal and even pre-pregnancy care, best foods that you could be eating to prepare your body for that, and then also exercise as well.
Yeah, so can I start by saying thank you for saying that, Dr.
Absolutely.
Jones, all of that with the knowing your medical history, because your family's medical history, because one thing I went into with is that I knew in my family we have big babies. And it was important for me to tell my doctor that because we had to prepare for that. They thought I was having twins at 13 weeks,
Mm,
but it was just one big baby. But
Mhm.
I know that I was over 9 pounds. My sister was over 9 pounds. So having my doctor be aware of that, he talked me through what to expect
Mhm.
during childbirth so that it wasn't too much of a shock. And I didn't realize it would be that important. So start with that. Okay, but thank you for that. But as far as the food and prepping, I gotta say, one of the best things that I heard when I took all of the pre labor classes and the early childbirth classes was of course about eating balanced meals.
mm-hmm.
A lot of times we don't. But the best thing my doctor said to me was Mexican food is one of the best food categories. And I was like, Doctor, say less. Like he said, he said
Really?
yes. Because if you think about it, you get your carbs, you get your protein, you get your dairy, you get your
That's
fat.
true.
And I
Mhm.
was like, Doc, I didn't realize that. And I think a lot of times we think with pregnancy eating, we think about the random cravings
Mm-hmm.
with ice cream and pickles and all of that. But we do have to still be cognizant of having a balanced diet throughout because we're not just living for us anymore. We're
Yes.
literally living for an entire new human being who's getting everything from us.
Yes.
So, and even with the exercise and the healthier your body is, the easier it's going to be for you because having a baby, especially naturally, that is taxing. That is a lot of work, and
Mhm.
you have to be ready for it. And as Dr. Jones says, you can't. But I'm not gonna say that you can't, because there have been times when people got pregnant and they decided this was the time for them to really start taking care of themselves, and they got healthier during their pregnancy than they were prior to. And I would rather have that as opposed to not at all. But if you know that you want to have a child within the next 6 months, next year,
So
whatever,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
start. Don't overlook the benefits of just walking.
Mhm.
Just getting out,
Mhm.
walking, getting your body ready for that. That is a great thing. Of course, I don't know if y'all seen it. I'm just apologizing and warning you all. You're gonna see me drink a lot of water throughout
Mm-hmm.
the
I got
show.
mine too. I know you how you are, so I got my water too.
But starting to drink your water, starting to think about what you're eating and how your food's not respond, your body responds to food. Now, this is also something you have to be aware of. That baby, once you get pregnant, may want something totally different than what you thought you wanted. I stopped eating pork in high school, but all of a sudden, when I got pregnant with that second one, you couldn't stop me from eating sausage McGriddles. You just, I, the baby wanted it, but I had to be okay with that and not feel like I had to walk a specific. And one, as Tanya said in my bio, I don't believe in restriction anyway. I do believe in complete balance. I mentioned avocado. I mentioned beer. Is balance. And same thing with pregnancy. It's not about, this is not the time for you to just eat all the things and just forget about being
Yeah.
active. I'm not
Yeah.
saying to do that.
Mhm.
But what I am saying is that if that baby wants what it wants, save yourself and the people around you and just give it. just just give it to the baby, because everybody will be happier in the long run.
Mhm.
And
But
then you're not stressing yourself about that as well in terms of what you're eating
yeah,
and things like that.
That's
Yeah.
just
yeah. And it can be, it's very difficult when you watch your body change so much. And especially when you feel like you can't control it, because our hormones are out of control. And I'm sure Doc can, give more information about that. But it's very difficult. And the last thing you want to do is beat yourself up
Mhm.
with what the baby wants to eat. Because
Mhm.
when you stress, the baby stresses.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you have to try to get through this pregnancy as easy breezy as you can, as stress free
Free as you can.
as
Yes.
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Jones, you had a comment?
I like to tell people, because you hear people say you're eating for two. No, you're not eating for two.
Hmm.
Don't believe the hype. Just eat a normal, healthy diet. Don't try to, justify eating, double and triple portions. You'll pay for it in the end. So, because what you put on, you gotta lose.
Yeah.
So, you might as well just eat a normal, healthy diet. Get in your vegetables, get in your fruits, appropriate carbs, your protein, things like that. Take your vitamins when you're able, because a lot of times when you first start being pregnant, you're nauseous all the time. Combat the nausea. Every time you move, you're going to be nauseous. So make sure you keep crackers or something by the bedside so that you can put something in your mouth. You're not walking around an empty stomach, and then the nausea starts, and then you have to combat the nausea, and it just becomes an on and on and on. So yeah, just a normal, healthy diet for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next, I want to talk. We're pregnant now. What's safe in terms of exercise? What should we be doing? What should we be doing in terms of sleep and in exercise? Dr. Jones, I go to you first.
Hmm.
Well, definitely adequate amount of sleep. 7 to 8 hours a day. That's for some people that's like way out of their lifestyle realm. But you're going to be exhausted. Your body is working 24/7 to produce another human being. Sleep on your side, never sleep on your back. Get some pillows, make yourself comfortable, so that you actually do rest and that your body's resting. Adequate, water. Drink
Hmm.
lots and lots of water. You have more skin, and the more skin you have, the more water evaporates through your skin. So you're going to be thirsty, and even if you're not thirsty, be mindful. Drink a lot of water. And then you have to take your vitamins for the sake of the baby's brain development. You take that. Folic acid. But other than that, it's just normal, healthy. Just be comfortable. And I like to tell people, enjoy being pregnant.
Mm, that's
It's
good.
a
That's
special
good.
time.
Hmm.
You want to stay healthy. You want to stay comfortable. Wear comfortable shoes. If you're a high heel person and you have to take off the high heels, well, take off the high heels.
Mm-hmm.
Save your back. But normal stuff, and most times it's just like common sense. It's nothing real deep or anything like that. Just common sense. Your body will tell you when you need to rest. Your body will tell you, okay, I need 8 hours. Especially if you have a working job. When I was pregnant with both of my sons, I was newly out of med school, and no, I was newly out of residency. On my feet. I got pregnant with my first son when I was chief resident, and I was on my feet. Almost sometimes 24 hours at a time.
Wow.
But you have to get your rest. You just have to get your sleep, and the standard is 7 to 8 hours. Which, as women, I don't even think we think about getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. But you might as well get it in before that baby comes, because of course then all that goes out the window.
Exactly. I'm trying. I've not been successful in my 7 to 8 hours, but I try. I fail, but I try. Krystal, same question to you.
Well, I'll tell you, Tanya, what's funny is as I'm getting older, I'm getting my 7 to 8 more. I used to
Are
be a
you?
5 to 6
That's where I
queen,
am. But it's a struggle though, I feel.
but this whole perimenopause, menopause phase, my body's like, girl, you need more sleep, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to take it, the
Mm-hmm.
fatigue. But now that we're pregnant, and the exercising,
Mm-hmm.
you got to stay moving. Now, what's safe to do is what you've been doing before. Like
Right.
I said, this is not the time to add all types of crazy stuff, and that's why it's interesting when you see people on social media and people cringe when they see pregnant women lifting and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, but she was already doing that. Her body's used to that. Now,
Right.
I still get scared when I see them, clean with the bar going over the belly. Like, that's scary. But if that's what they've been doing, then the body is ready for that. It's prepared for it. So this, as Doctor said, it's not the time to stop, because we do, especially that first pregnancy, we get so scared, so nervous, want to protect the baby, and like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I shouldn't do that, maybe I shouldn't. But a lot of times we use that as excuses to go ahead and be a little lazy and eat a little
Mm-hmm.
more.
Mm-hmm. Be
But
comfortable. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the whole eating for two, I laugh when I heard that, because I remember people saying that, like, I'm eating for two. I'm like, no, you're not. You're gonna look like you two people if
Yes,
you
Mm-hmm.
you
keep
look
on
like
eating for two. But now that we're pregnant, we have to make sure that we are still being active and thinking about post pregnancy. I
Mm.
think that's where a lot of, again, it's always so tricky when it comes to weight loss and body image. Sometimes there's this desperation that can come into play, and I've seen, unfortunately, pregnant women who try their best not to eat that much. They exercise like
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
so that they don't have a lot of body, a lot of baby fat to lose after the baby, and they don't give the baby a chance to like really grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say be mindful of not getting there, but just making sure that you're staying active. And oh, something else that's great I did the first time, water aerobics,
Mm.
especially if you are concerned about joint issues, because we know pregnancy can take, it can take a toll on your body.
so.
But doing something that's it removes that stress on your joints, and it's just, you get to do so much more. It helps with your flexibility, helps with the cardio, helps with the strength, all these things. So that way, if you want to, I always tell people, water aerobics is probably the best thing to shape your arms, especially if you don't like lifting weights, and especially if you're concerned about lifting weights during your pregnancy. Try some water aerobics.
Hmm. Good information. That's good.
It's
So
amazing
I
that
let's
just
go ahead.
because
Hmm.
what works for then also works later in life.
Yes, and
Um, I
those
tell
healthy
people
habits there.
as you start to enter your senior years, yes, you need to not stress out your joints. So,
Mm-hmm.
get in the water and exercise. It's great.
Yes. So let's move to postpartum, post pregnancy. There's a couple of topics we wanted to talk about there. So first, let's talk about nursing. And actually, it's funny. I just saw Karen's comment. Breastfeeding is an excellent way to assist with weight loss too. But nursing, even preparing, I remember nursing was a horrible experience initially, just because it was painful with the cracked nipples and things like that. So talk about, Dr. Jones, how we can prepare our bodies for nursing it, and really even what to expect sometimes with that.
The best way to prepare is to have a coach
Mm,
that's going to coach you through it. not lay on the guilt. I've had patients who just couldn't do it, and they felt so guilty about it. Don't feel guilty. The goal is to feed your baby,
To
right?
have a healthy baby. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So, but, prepare your nipples, know when to use nipple shields, know when to pump, all of that. And that you get with a great coach to get you through it. Now, it's funny because as physicians, we kind of leave that to somebody else. Totally. It's like, okay, baby's out, we're done. But yes, and I've seen some nurses in postpartum who are so good at it.
Yeah.
And they're good about walking people through it, and they're very comfortable, and they're very patient, and they help you with the baby latching on right away, like right after delivery,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. Because sometimes, especially if it's your first baby, the biggest thing is fear.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
is the milk going to come in? Is the baby going to latch on? Is this the right latching on? All of those things. So the easiest thing is either take a class beforehand, but even with that, even if you go through the classes, through your prenatal classes, the best thing is to get a coach
Mm-hmm.
and have them walk you through it for the first few weeks.
Yeah. And we saw that Karen also said doulas would help. Doulas are definitely great for that as well.
Yeah,
So Krystal, talk about, and I don't know if this is a thing or not, but are there certain foods that we can eat to help with breast or with milk production, or is there anything? I know even with the calories, what does eating look like when nursing? What does that look like to?
You know what? That's probably a better question for Doc. As far as
I like that. I like that.
because I'm just thinking about how long it's been since I nursed, and I honestly work with a lot of women who are perimenopause and not having new babies. So I
Hmm.
haven't even really looked into the foods that help with lactation production. What I do remember is the need to be mindful of when it came to exercising when you nursed, especially with doing intense workouts, because that can spoil your milk. And I had to learn that the hard way
Hmm.
when I was nursing my second son, because I went back to the gym and I nursed him for a decent amount of time, but I learned it's like, think about it, our bodies are like little cookers. So when you're exercising like crazy, your body's you're heating up your milk. So each time I had came home from an intense workout and nursed him, he threw up immediately.
Oh wow.
So what I had to learn to do was to feed him right before, and I will pump right before. So that way, when I came home, he would take the bottle first. I would have to express and discard that milk
Hmm.
right after my
Hmm.
workouts, and then got back into it
Yeah.
because it just completely spoiled me. So that is something that I will say, from the fitness side, to be mindful of that when you're nursing, because it can totally impact your milk production.
Yeah. And alcohol too. You have to
Yeah.
dump alcohol. So even if there's a
Hmm.
situation, people go to weddings or other things that if they're drinking, a situation with drinking alcohol nursing, you have to make sure that you pump and discard that as well, that does not get transmitted to the baby as well. So,
Hmm.
even
Dr. Jones, anything to comment on that in terms of?
even for some medications you're going to take, if you get, bladder infection or something like that, some antibiotics, you should, dump it and not feed. So you have to closely coordinate that with your doctor if you're putting on any medication. As far as we see from the outside obstetrical side.
Dr. Jones, I'm getting a lot of feedback on your
uh,
camera. Yeah,
that might be me. As far
that's
as the
better.
obstetrical side, um, you know, giving people birth control
Mm-hmm.
right afterwards who are going to breastfeed. And there's a time frame you got to give them for their milk to come in before they start contraception right away. So you have to let them know. For most women, if you're totally breastfeeding, that provides adequate contraception, so you don't have to be afraid in that first month or so. But beyond that, and especially when you get like 4 months down the road or something, when you start to supplement, then you're going to need contraception. So along with your breastfeeding, and there's certain things you can take, certain things you can't take.
Okay. Another important thing, thank you for that. Another important thing I see come up as well is relating to postpartum is depression. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time there as well in terms of maybe signs to look for and how that can be, how we can combat depression and even how we can help others that may be suffering from postpartum depression. So, Dr. Jones, I'll start with you. Can you just share your thoughts on a woman, what signs she should look for to even identify maybe she is going through postpartum depression, and what she can do about that?
Couple things. Most women immediately postpartum, they'll have some days when you're just blue.
Mm-hmm.
Some crying jags, get exhausted, things like that. Those are normal, but that should start to phase out within the first week or so. But if you get to the point where you're not just blue, but you start to feel depressed and hopeless, helpless, you no longer want to care for yourself or your baby, especially if you're starting to feel like you want to harm yourself or your baby, you need to get help. Sometimes it could be just a matter of a lack of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't realize what a lack of sleep will do to you mentally. And so, and that's one of those things that's preparing for pregnancy. Who's going to be there with you postpartum? Are you going to have adequate support? And a lot of women, unfortunately, we hand them a baby, we send them home, and they really don't have support at home. And, they don't have time to take care of themselves. And then sometimes we forget that we're not Wonder Women. And we forget that rule: when the baby sleeps, you sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we try to think, okay, when the baby sleeps, that's my time to do laundry, to clean up the house, to fix the meals, and all of that kind of stuff. And your body starts to let you know you've burnt out. And you start to feel it emotionally and mentally when you feel like you can't hold on anymore, or you can't function as you normally would. And it goes beyond, like I said, everybody's going to have some sad days. Your emotions, hormones are, trying to get back in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
But when that starts to linger, especially beyond the first and second week of pregnancy, you need to start thinking about reaching out.
Thank you. Thank you. And Krystal, anything to add there?
Just thinking back to when I had my second son, I didn't realize that I had a small case of postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't about harm. It was really about lack of desire to really do much of anything. I thought I was just tired, but then I realized that I just didn't really care to do much, and it also, for me, it also tied in, I think for a lot of women, it tied into how my body was responding post baby, because it is very difficult to look in the mirror and your body just does not look like you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I will add this with that: if anybody experiences that, right, especially the postpartum baby body. And I'm always honest and very transparent about this. I did the whole desperate thing of buying fat burners. I was like, whatever it takes to get this body, this fat off of me. But I knew it was wrong. One, heart disease runs in my family. Two, I was still nursing. None of that is healthy. So I only did it for like 2 days. And I was like, come on, you have to think about yourself and the baby, and what shifts can be made, little
Mm-hmm.
things you can do that can change to help you get there. And I'm glad that one of the things was, I know we're tired, and I'm sort of tying a whole bunch of this in together. But at one point, I had to ask myself, Krystal, what's your real goal? And I realized that exercise is the most overlooked stress reliever. We run to food quickly as opposed to exercising, because that helps with your hormone balance. It helps with, cortisol levels, adrenaline, all of that good stuff. So I had to, I had 2 children under 4, plus a husband. But even though it was tiring at first, I started making myself get up earlier before the house woke up, just so I could get my time to exercise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after doing that, I realized that I became a healthier and happier person, because I was doing something for me, one, and two, the exercise just benefited my entire mood. And so I would really suggest that to my moms who may even be concerned about postpartum. Get out there and just walk. Just do something to get the blood pumping, to get the heart rate going, And then you'll be surprised at how much it can really, really impact your mood.
And that's depression in general then, right? We're
Mhm.
speaking just even in general to be able to get out and to move.
Yep.
Okay.
And the
Thank you.
fresh air helps. The
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D helps.
Mm-hmm. The
You
sun,
know,
yeah.
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 And Tanya, as the ladies are speaking, it's kind of more along the lines of mental health, really kind of allowing ourselves to have that space to recognize, like, it's okay to recognize that you're stepping into a new phase of your life, right? Like, I think sometimes, even though we have a baby, right, it can be really exciting, but there's also a level of grief of missing life how it was prior to them being here, right?
Or missing that body too.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I say that a lot. I turned into their mom and totally got rid of Krystal.
Yes, yes,
And it
yes,
took me a
yes.
long time to find Krystal again.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all, I even went through my closet and got rid of clothes that mamas shouldn't wear. And afterwards I look back at, I've never worn trashy clothes, but just in my head, it was just
You
like,
had a certain image, right? A
I
certain mom
probably
image.
wouldn't wear that again. I'm not going to wear that again. I'm not going to wear that. And Krystal just went out of the door. And that was just a sad thing. Like you said, I mourned Krystal when I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that now too, Krystal. Like this late, it's like, what happened to Tanya? Where is she? And what does she want to do? What is she like? And really rediscovering who I am and what I want to do and what I like and enjoy to do and what brings me joy. So absolutely. And that's in that mode of self-discovery as well.
And it's so interesting. I didn't know this, but 6 years ago, oh, no, 7, goodness. So I went to a therapist in 2016 and she told me then, you're premenopausal. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not. My hormones are fine. Still have my cycle. And she's like, she said, a lot of people think that menopause starts with the hormones, but it starts with your psyche first. She said, once you start putting yourself first, you become more resolved with what you want. I was like, I guess I am. Because at this point, and Tanya, we've known each other for a long time. We know each other.
Yes.
It's so weird for me to be okay to just say no now. And I'm so okay with it. That is my best. That's my favorite part of self-care. And I don't feel bad about it because I know that if
you're putting
I
you
say
first,
no, it's because I can't. I just can't. And I'm okay with taking care of me before everybody else, because for so long, everybody else was, I wasn't even on the stove. Forget the back burner. I wasn't even on the stove. But getting, as I'm seeing it, that's the best part about menopause. I'm so okay with Krystal being first.
And the thing is, people think you're selfish because they're used to all that you always do for them. We're like, no, it's not selfish. It's taking care of me first.
It's selfish is not a bad thing.
Self-care is always a good thing.
Yes, the selfish. We've been taught that being selfish is bad. But, as the whole airplane analogy, I can't take care of anybody else if my mask isn't on first. And so I'm just fortunate that what I realized, and it took a long time to realize this, the people who are for me, who love me, who know me, they respect and they're grateful for my nose. They don't hold that against me, and I think that was the big fear, that if I didn't keep doing, then they were going to be upset. Anybody who's upset because you say no to protect yourself, then they shouldn't be in your circle.
They don't care for the best for you.
They don't care about that's a different type of selfish. You know what I'm saying? So I had to be okay. I tell you, this part feels good, y'all.
this is a good part of menopause, huh?
Yes. Now all that other stuff is for the birds, but this part, I like it.
So it's another good transition. So let's transition. We're getting older. Let's go ahead and transition to the menopause discussion. So, I don't know, Dr. Jones, did you have a comment? Did you want to say anything before we?
I was just going to say, I tell people all the time, if you drop dead tomorrow, all of those people that you can't say no to will find someone else to pick up their pieces. And so you have to take the time for yourself. You have to.
That's great. Absolutely great advice.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some of these menopause symptoms. So listen,
can we get some wine for this conversation? I don't know if the water gonna do it.
So and we say that Markeisha says all the time, we cannot drink during the show. She's not allowed to have any wine during the show. So night sweats, brain fog, the hot flashes, all of these things that were so common. Let's talk wherever we want to start. Let's talk about it. What do we got to do? What can I do to get a dry night sleep?
What, let me just start with trying to get us a sense of what is menopause and what actually happens. I think when I explain to people what's actually happening in their body, sometimes they get it. So menopause, the reason why we say, you have to not have a period for a whole year, and that's how you define menopause. And because your brain will constantly, for the rest of your life, try to produce a menstrual cycle. Okay. Your brain will keep on stimulating your ovaries to try to produce that menstrual cycle. But what's happening is when you are born, you have all the eggs in your ovaries you're ever going to have. And then it quickly decreases in number as you keep growing. By the time you're in puberty, you're at about half of what you were born with.
Wow.
But all of those, and that's, millions of eggs, but all of those eggs will never reach maturity. There's only so many. With each cycle that you ovulate, you use at least 4 of those eggs, but only one of them reaches maturity. So what's actually happening in menopause is your brain is stimulating your ovaries to produce an egg that reaches maturity that you can ovulate with. So that hormone being released from your brain keeps right on churning. Wow. But as you get older, you run out of eggs that will adequately respond, because your eggs have to respond by producing the estrogen, which makes the egg mature in order to get an egg that matures so that you have a period. So your brain keeps stimulating your ovaries to produce that period that you just no longer have eggs that will ever produce enough estrogen.
Wow, okay.
A period. And that's when you're in menopause. Okay?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Menopause gets really defined by those eggs that no longer produce enough estrogen, because our bodies, especially as women, are wired by estrogen. We're finding more and more of your body tissues are supported by estrogen. Your brain is supported by estrogen. There's what's called a thermoregulatory center in your brain that responds to estrogen. It has estrogen receptors. So when you don't have estrogen filling up those receptors, that thermoregulatory system goes whack. And that's why sometimes you're hot and then you get cold, because that system is all over the place. Okay, your breasts respond to estrogen. So as you get older, they start to be, sag. They're no longer cute and perky like they were when you were younger, right? Your skin responds to estrogen. So the elasticity in your skin is not what it used to be. Your heart responds to estrogen. Your ovaries are cardioprotective. So as we get older, we become more sensitive to heart disease, which is why women, as we hit 40s and 50s, we start to die from heart disease, because we're losing the protection that our ovaries gave us all our lives. Our bones are sensitive to estrogen, so you start to lose bone, which is why it becomes real important that you continue to exercise so that your body keeps reforming your bone and your bones don't become thin and brittle. Your vagina, your uterus, your vulva, that skin where your labia and all that responds to estrogen. Your bladder responds to estrogen. All of those tissues.
All of these things, yes.
Yeah. Your joints are estrogen sensitive, estrogen dependent. So as you get older, you start to lose, the ligaments get different. Just like when you're in pregnancy, those ligaments and all that progesterone, your joints get looser, your back gets looser, which is why your back is able to bend to accommodate that big old belly in the front. Well, as you get older, you start to lose that. Your bones, your joints become stiff. You notice getting out of bed is not as easy as it used to. So all of those body parts are sensitive to your estrogen level.
Wow.
Which is dropping and gets to be like less than 5. So now your body has to reformulate, and you have to reformulate to accommodate all of those changes. And that's what menopause is. It's not just I no longer have a period. It's my whole body now has to readjust to my lack of estrogen.
Thank you for that explanation. I've never heard it explained like that. That is so very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, and you have to
Go ahead.
explain why you
Mhm.
feel what you feel,
Yes, it makes sense now. Yeah.
right? Your hair is different.
Hmm.
You can't do the stuff with your hair that you used to do. I gave a talk, a couple months ago, and it's like, I went through menopause and my hair caught a major attitude. Like, don't you even think about no perms or any of that kind of stuff. We're just
Hmm.
gonna fall out because we got an attitude. So it's all of those body systems are very sensitive to our lack of estrogen, and we
Yeah.
have to reformulate how we live.
So I never understood completely what that meant. So is that for the hormone replacement? Is that the replacement of that estrogen? Is that what that
Right.
kind of treatment is?
And nothing works as well as estrogen. We
Hmm.
try to come up with other things, but nothing works as well as estrogen. So some women, just for the sake of their quality of life, they take estrogen, they take
Hmm.
hormone therapy. Now, I
Hmm.
know the women's health study came out years ago and it made everybody afraid to take estrogen. But you can take estrogen if you have a uterus. You have to take estrogen and progesterone. You can't just take estrogen or you'll produce uterine cancer. So, but you can take that, but you can only do that. There's a short window when that's healthy to stop.
Okay.
So
Okay.
usually within about 5 years of stopping your period, you can start hormone therapy and you probably won't hurt yourself. Beyond that, if you just wait 10 years, 15 years, and now I want to go on estrogen therapy, by
Hmm.
now I'm probably going to create heart disease.
Mm.
So,
Good. That's
no
good.
doctor worth their salt is going to say, I'm not going to create heart disease for the sake of your hot flashes. We got
Hmm.
to come up with other ways to deal with it. So, but we know that, your hot flashes, well, it don't stop in 5 years. And unfortunately, as African American women, we always get the short end of the stick. Our hot flashes last way longer than our European or Asian counterparts. So what do you do? So we found that there's some things that respond to it. Some people can take a low dose antidepressant and that helps with their hot flashes. There's a medication called clonidine, which is for blood pressure. It helps with hot flashes. There's gabapentin, which is a pain medicine, a neurological pain medicine that helps for women with hot flashes. But it's no one size fits all.
Hmm. Hmm.
You kind of have to try what's going to work for you. But, don't just take one study and say, I'm not going to take hormone therapy, but my quality of life is in the toilet.
Yeah.
If you need hormone therapy, then take the hormone therapy. You're not going to be on it for life. You may need it for the first year or two to get you through, that transition.
Hmm.
Do that. You're
Hmm.
probably going to be fine. There's some risk to it, but yes, we found that if you take it through your skin or through your vagina, it's much safer than taking it by mouth. So there's ways around it, but it's all about quality of life. Now, menopause is not a disease that we're treating. It's a
Yes.
transition in your life, but
Yes.
that transition is real.
Yeah. And to that point, it's another good point. Just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you as well, because everyone is different.
Right. Some people try herbal stuff. Some people
Hmm.
try on soy. I tell people all the time, soy is soy. It's soy. You can buy a $15 pack of soy in a box, or you can just drink a glass of soy milk every day. If soy's going to work, it's going to work.
Regardless of how you take it. Hmm.
Right. You don't have
Hmm.
to take the expensive route. So some people try soy, some people try black cohosh. There's no real medical evidence that it really works, but it does work in some people. But for most people that black cohosh works, it works for a short amount of time.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's some other new supplements out there. There's something called bioidentical hormones, which somehow people think are safe. And I have to tell people it's a hormone. I don't care how you made it. It's no more safe than if doing Premarin or something that some pharma made. Your body's going to respond to it the same. So you still have to take all the same precautions, but you have to do what's going to give you a quality of life. You got to do something.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people barely have a hot flash and they go through it and they're fine. Do that. Drink a glass of water, like she said. Brush your hair back and keep it moving.
Hmm. Hmm. What about brain fog? Any hints? Because that's another thing I'm struggling with. And I've heard this a lot of the brain fog. What is there anything we can do in terms of helping
It's the
our
same
memory
thing.
or?
That just happens to be your menopause symptom.
Hmm.
So you need to treat your menopause,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So what's going to clear, just like what's going to clear your hot flashes, the same thing's going to clear your brain fog. A lot of it is sleep. You have to make sure you're getting adequate rest, that you're drinking adequate fluids, that you have a healthy diet. Lower your carbs. Woo! Lower your carbs. Woo! Lower your carbs.
Got it. Got it.
Lower your sugar.
Mhm.
Sugar intake drives menopause symptoms. So
Yeah.
that at any time is a time when you start to rethink the way you live.
Mhm.
Menopause. You
Got it.
need that's when you need to get into a good exercise program. To keep your joints moving. Um, and you need to get into a good diet. People tell me all the time, I cut out the sugar and I feel wonderful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I
And
have
I
a
think
question
it.
for you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, Doc, I have a question for you because I'm like Tanya, brain fog is like I started with night sweats, but then I noticed the brain fog. And I probably have done it a few times during this conversation where like the words are getting stuck. I call it brain fog, but I can hear words that just won't come out. And when I did the research about it, what I found, and I would love to hear your feedback on this, was that could be an issue of my testosterone levels changing. And what I realized that a lot of times people don't talk about women and testosterone and how we have it and how it impacts us. We only really hear the conversation about estrogen and progesterone. So can you give a little more information about testosterone and how that can impact menopause as well?
Your ovaries, for the most part, as women, our ovaries make testosterone. That doesn't stop.
Mhm.
The same testosterone your ovaries made when you were 15 and went into puberty, your ovaries keep right on making testosterone. There is no longer the estrogen to
To
counterbalance it.
counter it. Mhm.
Mhm.
So then you start to feel it. You may start to grow a little mustache, a little beard, but even that shouldn't be excessive. If you start to notice like a voice change or, male balding,
Mhm.
things like that make you think your testosterone level is rising, that's never normal.
Mhm.
But other than that, you may get some thinning of your hair
Mhm.
because now you have testosterone dominance and you didn't have it before.
Mhm.
Hmm. Does
Now,
that impact
people
brain
take
fog too, though?
testosterone because of their libido. As women, our sex drive is tied to the ovulation, right? So some people try testosterone, and that, if you're going to take testosterone, that definitely has to be medically managed. I would not propose to any woman because guess what? Testosterone drives things like heart disease. That's why men
Mhm.
have more heart attacks than us, things like that. So that definitely has to be medically managed and managed well if you're going to do that. So it's a trade off. I've had people ask me about taking testosterone. There are physicians who do that because I don't do it enough. I don't prescribe it. But there are physicians who will do that and are used to managing that because it's managed by symptoms. It's not managed always by numbers. So some women need that because their sex drive is just in the toilet, and that's upsetting. So everybody's different. For some women, their sex drive goes out the window and they really don't care. For some women, um, there's ways to build up your sex drive beyond taking medication. I think number one sex you have if you're really
We
sexual.
lost your sound again,
Oh,
Dr. Jones. Yeah.
how did I do that?
Um,
Um,
okay.
so the more sex you have, the more sex drive you'll have. So there's just ways, like I said, menopause is a time when you have to manage your readjustment to how you're going to function for this part of your life. And so it's a different way to get the same thing done.
Okay.
Mm. And exercise increases the blood flow to your lady parts, going to help you during that time. So
Increases
especially,
the blood flow to your lady parts.
Yeah.
yes, it
So
does.
let's move to that. So Anne, I see your questions. I'm going to get to you as soon as we finish. But Krystal, I wanted to talk because I know we talked about it even now, and I've said it on your session. Talk about exercise during menopause and some of the benefits of that, and how we should be exercising to counter act some of the weight loss, the menopause weight gain that we may
Jane,
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing we have to accept is that the exercises we did when we were 20, they're not the same now. Like we do have to modify how we exercise. I think a lot of times we want to still be able to do the workouts of yonder, but you can't do that anymore. So being able to adjust that. As I stated before, exercise is one of the most overlooked stress relievers. Exercise. I can't think of too many situations where exercise is not recommended to help. And menopause falls right into that. It helps with, first of all, you need the activity, you need the movement, but again, it helps with the stress level. Not only the stress level that's naturally coming from the hormones, but the stress level that falls on us because we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on with our bodies and our emotions and our moods. Like you mentioned a few of the things. I don't know about you all, but I didn't know menopause was going to include all of this stuff. I did not. And I was going crazy trying to figure out why my shoulder kept bothering me, why I couldn't sleep, why uh keep forgetting words, why my bladder was getting weaker. Like it was just so much that was going on that caused stress. But exercising will help with that. It helps to also strengthen those muscles and those joints that we need to help reduce some of the symptoms. Now, it's not going, nothing is a catch-all is going to correct everything, but it does at least help with that. And even if you're going to struggle with weight loss, like losing weight, you can at least help you to maintain so that you're not gaining weight. And that in itself is going to help with your quality. You mentioned quality of life. That's the key. That's the key, because the more we gain weight, the sadder we get, the more we sit around sluggish. It's just, it takes away all of that excitement. It's like it's throwing us right back into what we talked about with the postpartum, what could happen. It's like it feels like menopause can do the same thing. So exercising can help combat those things so that you are feeling confident with yourself. You are getting that blood flow. You are moving. You are putting oxygen through your body. And it actually helps you with your sleeping a little bit. And even Doc touched on it a little bit, but watching how you eat during this time can be beneficial, because if you're eating a lot of spicy foods, yeah, you can expect that you're going to have more hot flashes and night sweats. If you're drinking alcohol, you can expect to have more hot flashes and night sweats. If you're eating sugar, processed foods, and things like that, that your body, may have been able to play around with in the 20s, in your 40s and 50s, your body is not going to accept it as well. So that's something to think about as well. Yes, look here, that exercise and sex, those endorphins. And now I was just talking to somebody else the other day. If you can exercise with your partner, not saying that you all do the exact same exercise, but even just being in that environment of exercising with your partner, that helps as well with the connection. So I'll leave it at
Leave
that.
it at that. Thank you. So, Markeisha, I'm going to put up one of Ann's questions, and I'll give it to you from here. But I did see this. So, post breast cancer, taking estrogen blockers. What is an important measure to take to protect yourself?
That's a tricky thing, because once you have breast cancer, you can't take estrogen. So the other pieces become important. The other lifestyle changes become important. The exercise, the healthy diet, all of those now, because you now have to compensate for the lack of estrogen that you cannot take. And so, yeah, it's important that you stay healthy. It's important that you continue to exercise, especially cardio, because you're going to lose that cardio protection from your estrogen. So, you're going to notice maybe some of the side effects, the hot flashes and things like that. And, sometimes I have lots of women who are breast cancer survivors, thank the Lord. And we play around with different things. We try the gabapentin, we try the clonidine, we try the antidepressant for the sake of managing their menopause symptoms. But it's tricky because, like we said, not one size fits all. And you just don't have that option.
Thank you. And so I see two questions here. I see Ann said, should you get your levels checked for estrogen? And then I also see Nikki asking, how can we tell our levels for testosterone? So let's talk about levels in general. How do we test and get our levels tested for these hormones?
People ask me that a lot. And for one thing, I can tell you, if you're having a period, your estrogen is normal.
Okay.
If you're having a period, your FSH and LH, which are the two hormones that regulate your period, they're normal. Because it's not like a fine tooth, range. You're either going to be, because the range of normal is so wide, you're either going to be really high, which shows you're in menopause, but even with that, that doesn't mean you won't get another period because your ovaries can kick back in and start working again. Because like I said, your brain keeps stimulating your ovaries. So, whenever you test hormones, that's a moment in time. That doesn't mean a whole lot. People say, well, there's a hormone AMH. I just tested I might be infertile. Can I just get that tested? How many eggs I have? You can't use it like that unless you're infertile and trying to get pregnant. That number doesn't mean anything. And so testing hormone levels really don't mean a whole lot. Even when we give people hormone therapy, we treat them to their symptoms. If I give you, so much, 0.625 milligrams of estrogen, but you're still having hot flashes, it doesn't matter what your estrogen level is. You're still having hot flashes. So all of that is tweaked according to your symptoms. And even testosterone, it goes by your symptoms. What am I treating? Is it going to be effective? Am I being affected by what I'm giving you? If it's not, then it doesn't matter what the level is. So all of that's tied to symptoms, not necessarily a number. And so testing, if you haven't had a period for a year, I can pretty much guess your estrogen level is going to be low.
So if I have the same levels as Krystal, but it's affecting in two different ways, it's not the number, it's how it's affecting your body, which is important.
Your body.
Makes sense.
There are certain instances when we're looking for disease processes where those numbers make a difference. Like, so we say after 1 year, if someone hasn't had a period, if you start bleeding anytime after that year, there's something wrong. You need to make sure you don't have endometrial cancer. We're going to do all those tests. We're going to check your hormones to see if you're really in menopause, because some people do stop having periods for other reasons that are not menopause. So we'll test your hormones to see where they are, to see if you really are not in menopause, but you're just not having a period, or you are in menopause, so this bleeding is not normal. So in those instances, testing a hormone level is important. But just in routine.
Just because, got it.
It's just a moment in time, which 5 minutes from that won't mean as much.
This has been excellent. I'm so enlightened tonight. Thank you both. We have one more topic that we're going to get through before we close out tonight, and that is heart health, the all-encompassing heart health. And I know we've talked about it a lot. So I want to kind of combine heart health with high blood pressure, even, I guess, cholesterol to some level. So I guess, Dr. Jones, I'll go to you first. Just maybe an overall spiel about heart health and what, especially those of us that might be up in age, some of the things that we should be doing or aware of in terms of our heart health.
First of all, know your numbers.
So that means a physical every year, ladies. Make sure we're getting physical with blood tests.
To me, that goes without saying. I think that's the one thing we leave on the table. If you have health insurance, you're paying for that physical, whether you go or not. So go. Okay. Make the most of that 15 minutes with your doctor, because after 15 minutes, their mind is headed on to the next person. That's just the way medical practice is. But, keep your list of medications so you don't get over-medicated. Because today you may be out of sorts and you go when your blood pressure is high. That doesn't mean your blood pressure is always high. So keep your list of medications with you every time you see the doctor. Make sure you ask your questions. That's the most important thing. Don't let the doctor leave. And now I got a question when they're on their way out the door. It just doesn't work. But go for that annual physical. Get that EKG when it's called for. If you're having chest pain and you're a woman, make sure you don't just say it's okay. Go for the EKG. Go for the stress test. Get the echo. All of those, because especially in Black women, heart disease tends to masquerade as other things. Don't ignore it. That's probably the biggest thing. Don't ignore it. And don't even allow your physician to ignore it.
Thank you. So listen, ladies, again, we're saying it again. Make sure if you have not had a physical in the last year, call the doctor before the end of this week. Make that appointment to make sure you have your physical, have your blood test. You should be fasting before the blood test, making sure you're getting accurate numbers, but make sure, and you do that. I always do it on my birthday. That's how I remember on my birthday every year. That's when I go and get my physical, but make sure it's an annual thing. And that, again, you're aware of your numbers. So let's talk, in terms of lifestyle change and maybe eating for cholesterol. I know my cholesterol is right at the almost over to being concerned about it. It's my last couple of physicals, my cholesterol is there, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I did to have it go, what I'm eating or whatever. So to either one of you, let's talk about how we can better manage cholesterol and have healthy cholesterol levels.
Healthy diet. Okay. Transition as we get older. It's probably more important that we transition more to a plant-based diet than an animal-based diet. That's probably the best thing we can do for ourselves. Other than that, the exercise, keep your good cholesterol, make sure that stays elevated with exercise. And then lower your bad cholesterol. More nuts, more plants, plant steroids, things like that in your diet, as opposed to, we were 20, we could eat cheesesteaks. You can't do that at 50. For one thing, your GI tract is not going to be happy with it. But, and like I said, go and get your numbers checked so you know what you're dealing with. Know your family history. If everybody in your family has hypertension, guess what? But you can change that story.
Yeah.
People who never use salt don't get hypertension. Never. So if everybody had a stroke and everybody had hypertension, guess what? Change the story for yourself.
I think, like Krystal said, everything, we're maybe predisposed, but we're not genetically inclined for a lot of the things that we see in our.
Even if you're genetically inclined, just like women who get tested for the breast cancer gene, that doesn't mean they have to end up with breast cancer. Are you willing? Maybe, if your mother got breast cancer at 30, maybe you need to have that baby and have those breasts removed prophylactically and get implants. Get your ovaries removed, take hormone therapy if you need it. There are ways to change your story. You're not stuck with the same story your mother had, your grandmother had, your auntie had. We now have ways to figure out, okay, what am I, if I have a family full of cancer, I need to go for the genetic counseling. I may need to get some panels done. How can I change my life? How can I change? If everybody got ovarian cancer at 80, guess what? Maybe by 60, I need to get rid of these ovaries. There's ways to change that story, and we need to take advantage of it, especially as African American women, because we leave so much on the table. If you had abnormal periods your whole life, guess what? You're a setup for endometrial cancer. Get it checked out, especially with our daughters. We need to stop telling our daughters to suck it up and deal with those crazy periods. No, we need to do something about it while they're young so that when they don't repeat that story when they're 60. There are things we can change. We've got enough information out there to change the story in our lives. We just got to be willing to make the changes, right?
Yeah, it starts tonight.
Guess what? You can't eat junk.
Yeah, that's facts. When I was early 20s, I can't remember exactly how old I was at a fair, and there was a medical school. They have like the different medical schools, nursing school. And they asked, could they take my blood pressure? Could the students practice blood pressure and blood sugar? And I'm like, sure. It's in the morning. I had don't judge me. So this had to be right after I had my son, because I was still eating those McGriddles, but I had just eaten a McGriddle. And I was drinking the iced coffee, and the student took my blood sugar, and I saw her face, and she was like, ma'am, do you mind if I do it again? And I'm like, no, So she did it again. At this point, she called the nurse over who was working. And she was like, and so they're looking. And I think even though I was eating and drinking, I think it was only like 54 or something like that. It was like super low. So they're like, man, we need you to go to the doctor. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I go to the doctor, and I told them what happened, and I'm drinking my water. And they asked me, like, how much water? It's 9:00 in the morning. They're like, how much water have you had today? I'm like, about 50 ounces. They were like, okay, wait a minute. We need you to take this test. Fine, great. So, of course, they give me the diabetes test that you take when you're pregnant. I sit there and I take it. It came back normal. And based on my family's medical history, my sister, my mom, my grandma, almost all of them have diabetes, have or had. And that doctor looked me in my face that day and said, ma'am, your test came back normal today, but based on your family's medical history, you're more than likely you're going to be diabetic within 10 years. And I remember just thinking, like, how dare you tell me that it's just going to happen in 10 years because I don't want it. So that was part of the reason why I started making the changes that I made and very intentional. Now, like I said, I still drink my beer, my wine, I eat my pizza, but it's still a balance and it's more of a conscious decision to make sure that I'm doing what I can. Now, if it comes, that's one of the things that scares me about diabetes because when diabetes comes, sometimes it's just going to come and it's just, you can fight as much as you want. But I knew that I didn't just want to sit and
And
let
wait
it
for it.
come catch me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because too often we use that as an excuse too. We're like, oh, diabetes runs in my family, when honestly, it's the bad habits that run in the
They
family.
run in the family. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, just sitting back and saying, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever. But yeah, so thank you for that, doc, because it truly is something we just have to be cognizant of. Knowing our medical history does not mean that this is the list of what's going to happen. These are things to be mindful of and do what we can to try to at least postpone them.
Mhm.
At least don't, if I
So at
have
least don't wait and accept it because that's your family history and it's just
exactly,
coming. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I see a question here. What age should you have your ovaries removed if positive for genetic?
Okay, if I'm going to take that to mean you like I had a BRCA gene mutation test and it was positive, there's no specific age, but that's definitely a conversation you should have with an GYN oncologist as to when is the good time. First, of course, it's the best time after you've had all the children you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then it depends on your family history and things like that when you want to go ahead and take that step and have your ovaries removed. But yes, that should be coordinated between a geneticist and a GYN oncologist. And they'll walk you through the steps of how to do that. It's just like for breasts, people who are BRCA gene positive, when you want to have your breast removed, that there is no specific age to have that done. It's a coordination between you and the medical oncologist and a breast center as to when it's going to be the appropriate time for you to have that done.
Yes, based upon your lifestyle and all those other kind of things
And
as
all those
well.
other
So,
things.
yeah. So, I don't see any more questions, Markeisha. If you see any more, just put it on the chat. But, ladies, I want to take the time to say thank you. We wanted to do this for our guests, but I'm just being selfish right now. I have learned so much. I am so, so thankful to both of you for just imparting and sharing this information. I am going to bed tonight just enlightened and knowing more and just I feel better. I feel better about what's going on, especially these changes in my body and why they're changing, and kind of just some information that I have handy now to take with me on this journey. So thank you. I'm going to give you both just a moment to say closing words to our guests tonight.
Mhm.
Dr. Jones, I'll start with you.
Well, it was a pleasure to be on here tonight. I have a passion for women's health because I think too often we neglect ourselves for the sake of taking care of our families, taking care of our spouses. But like I said earlier, it's real important that we take the moment to take care of ourselves. And it doesn't always take so much time, but it does take some time. Every woman needs 30 minutes alone a day anyway.
Mhm.
So, take that walk, go to the gym, do that exercise, get in the pool, walk the pool for 30 minutes. You deserve 30 minutes. And for those of us who are believers, guess what? You got to believe and trust that God will hold your whole world together for that 30 minutes.
Yes.
That's also part of faith. So,
Yes.
learn how to do you, take care of you, because all the other people that are counting on you are counting on you to do that.
Yes. I love that. So I saw from Nikki, this is a reminder to change the narrative, my history. Yes. And Karen said this needs to be shared with every female on anyone's Facebook, and they need to watch it with their sister circle, especially those entering or in childbearing age or leaving childbearing age as well, or exiting out. So yes, yes, yes. Krystal, I'm going to go ahead and give you a chance to give parting words as well.
Yeah, so first of all, this has been amazing. Dr. Jones, you are the truth. I've enjoyed and learned so much tonight. Tanya, thank you for inviting me, the entire Faithful Mom team. Thanks for having me. Because I know that you all love and respect your audience. So to be invited and to share your audience, that is not taken lightly. So thank you for that. This is like you, Tanya. I've learned a lot tonight. I'm just sitting over here listening to Dr. Jones, like,
She's dropping it tonight. Yeah.
like this is good. This is good. I
Mhm.
can't wait to watch the replay. But what I would say to add on to my parting words, if I want you all to take anything away from it, and you just said, if somebody put it in the comments, don't feel that you just have to take whatever looks like may be your future. That does not mean that it is. That you still have control, and at least play an active role to try to push it off as long as you can. Don't underestimate the benefit of exercise, period, but don't let the word exercise scare you. Exercise is just movement. So if it is just getting out walking, getting that fresh air, if for nothing else, for your sanity. And I will suggest this: do it. People do it two different ways, but if you all recall, I've mentioned doing it at 5 a.m. Doing it early in the day allows you to tackle anything that's going to come along your way.
Yeah.
You know, you have that confidence of getting it done. The stress relief has been taken care of. Now, some people like to do it at the end of the day to get rid of it so you can sleep better. You could do it either way, but personally for me, it's like a certain, and the day will take over your life.
This is true. This is true.
So if you've been thinking about trying to figure out when you should do it, I would say work out first thing in the morning and get it out the way, as opposed to throughout the day you're constantly thinking like, oh, when can I sneak it
I gotta
in? When
work
can I
out. I have
sneak
to
it in?
work
When can
out.
I sneak it
Yeah.
in?
Mhm.
Just go ahead and get it done, and you'll thank yourself for it. And that in itself is going to make you feel better. It's going to make you more confident. It's going to boost your quality of life. It's going to boost how you look at yourself. So I would just say, just move. Whatever you like to do, whether it's skating, jumping rope, whatever, just do something to move.
And how can you help with that?
Oh,
Talk
I
about
can
your.
help in many ways. So there are a few things that I offer. I do offer a coaching program, a monthly coaching program where I provide the workouts, sample meal plans, but also the biggest thing that I provide with that is accountability and mindset support. Because a lot of times people think that exercise, well, weight loss is all eating and diet. I mean, eating and exercise, but it's not. You really got to have your mindset right. So that's why we do a lot of that support, just to make sure that you're, not beating yourself up and that you're encouraging yourself. So that is through my group coaching program. It's called Shift. But then I also send out all types of things that could be beneficial, as far as foods to avoid with menopause, the way you can sneak in your workouts throughout the day, because too often we don't do that. And also the stretches throughout the day should do throughout the day. So just getting on the mailing list, you'll get all of those.
I would say I'm on the mailing list, and I can attest to that as well. And webinars every now and then we can jump onto webinars as well.
Mhm.
So fitnessisnotagame.com.
Yes.
For Krystal and for Dr. Jones, as I was reading the bio, you are private practice in West Philadelphia. I was gonna say West Philadelphia, born and raised, but then you're born and raised in Lancaster, so that didn't work out. I couldn't say that, but private practice in West Philadelphia. So Markeisha, if you could put her number back up there as well, if you live in that area and are looking for OBGYN as well, Dr. Jones' numbers here on the screen as well. She's in private practice and accepting new patients. Are you accepting new patients, Dr. Jones? Yes, she is. She is. So please, you heard all the knowledge she dropped. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not gonna drive all the way to West Philly. It's worth it. I don't know. It makes it worth it to. But I've again totally enjoyed both of you. Thank you. So just imparting your knowledge to us. I think I can say my life is going to be different now. It's definitely going to be different based upon the information that I've received. So we want to welcome or invite you back next week, May 16th, next Tuesday. We're going to go back to our regular series review. Our topic next week is women's health issues, where we had different women who face different issues. So we're going to have all our guests come back and give updates for where they are now. We have a special guest, Joy Ezekiel Gibson, who experienced long COVID. And she was actually going to be one of our guests on that show and had a medical emergency and could not join. So she's coming back to share her story. And I'm so excited to have her. And then we also have Wanda Boyd, who is a therapist from Healing for Your Soul Counseling. So we will be just sharing about women who are dealing with specific diagnosis as moms. And we know how difficult sometimes taking care of yourself through a diagnosis and still having to care for your family. So we'll be back with that date. And also want to remind you to save the date, August 19th, Faithful Moms Retreat in person. I wish I could fly Krystal here. I wish I could fly you and Dr. Jones, I believe, as well, just to come. But we're going to be in person and have some great speakers and great topics. So again, mark your calendar, August 19th for that. But other than that, I want to say thank you so much for those that joined us. If you're watching on the rebroadcast, I hope you've enjoyed it and you'll return with us again. Have a wonderful evening. Take care, everyone.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.